I'm Hunter.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Nessa.
This is the Family Show! Howdy folks, welcome to our top 10 city/civilization building games. This is a repeato of a list we made in February of 2017.
Ooh.
So, city civ building. So, why do we combine those? Because way back in 2017, we were going to do city building by itself, civ building by itself, and we realized it was a pretty limited field to pull games from for those two. So we combined them because they got some similarities because you're building stuff.
Well, the times they have changed, that's for sure. As I have built this list, it was like, wow.
You built this list?
With rocks and wood. Built this.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, but yeah, this was tough because at this point now, I think you mentioned in our previous video, we could probably do a civilization list and then do a city building list.
Right.
So this was a tough one. So I'm just out of curiosity, did you track which ones were city and which ones were civ games?
No, but I can pretty much tell you which is which.
Mm-hmm. Because I have, I believe I have 6 civilization and 4 city games that ended up making my top 10. I was just curious if you looked at that.
Most of mine are civilization games.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority are
really?
civ games.
Interesting. Now, I even made a list of honorable mentions because, again, this was a really difficult list to make. And I did something a little bit different. You can tell me how you ranked yours. But this time, because we have both civilization and city building, I went ahead. And because these games on a given day, I like them all for very different reasons. It was really difficult for me to rank them. So I picked my 10 favorites and then I ranked them by their difficulty rating. Because, by complexity. Because honestly, and as you see as we get into this, when I think of civ and city building games, I usually think of heavy duty complex games. So almost every single one of them has a pretty high factor on the complexity scale. I've got a pretty wide range on this one. But... so that's what I did.
I did something strange. I ranked them by how much I liked them.
Why is that strange? Oh.
You do you, sweetie.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I did me. Okay.
So I have our list down here in the corner of the page. I have our list from last time, so I'll be comparing and contrasting, as well as down in the down part here, I'll be putting if they ranked previously on the list. So, are we ready?
Yes.
Get this party started?
Totally. Let's do this.
All right. My number 10 is Gentes. Gentes?
Gentes.
Gentes?
If it's classical Latin, it's Gentes.
What? Say it one more time.
Gentes.
That. Yeah, that's my game. So we have the TMG Deluxeified version. We played this. It's a civ building game. So you basically have these 6 different kinds of workers. And it's interesting because you have a way to track them. And as you make more of one worker, you can end up getting less and less of workers. So they're kind of 2 workers that are kind of, I don't know if contrasting is the right
Tug
word.
of war.
Contrasting, so as you build up one type of worker, you may have to reduce another kind of worker. Using those workers to get buildings. Buildings give you superpowers. Eventually, you're going to get victory points. It's got all kinds of resource management going on. You're taking over areas of a map. It has a very civ feel to it, but it also has kind of a city building feel to it because you're building kind of your little area with your different workers and your different buildings and things like that, as well as you're building up this map out on the board that gives you benefits as well. A really solid game. I really like the Tasty Minstrel version. I've never played the original version, so I assume it's better because it's deluxeified. But it's a great game. It just made my list. It obviously did not make my list last time because we did not own it. It didn't exist. Well, the deluxe version didn't exist when we made this list last. So
It's true.
that is
Gentes.
that. Gentes?
Gentes.
Gentes? Gentes?
Oh my gosh! The thing is,
Gentes?
We're gonna do Grammar by Hunter, a whole series.
Gentees.
Oh man. Anyways,
What's your number 10?
my number 10 is a city builder, I guess you'd say. It's a even smaller scale than that, really. It's almost farm builder.
Oh dear.
It's the lightest game by a significant amount on my top 10 that I felt had a city build feel to it, and that is Fields of Green. And the reason I picked this one is because, again, all of these I picked because they have a really heavy thematic feel, like you're actually constructing something. And Fields of Green has a difficulty rating of 2.6 out of 5, which, considering the rest of these games, is pretty light. But it's not really an introductory game by any stretch. This is a midweight game. But I love the way that everything is interconnected, because it's got that cause and effect thing going on here. You build a well now you're going to be able to water crops around it, but only for a certain period of time until the water runs, so you've got to think about the consequences of every build and where you put your build and how everything's best going to work. And I really, really enjoy this game. It's a tile card placement thing,
Effectively tile placement.
It's effectively tile placement, but it's really neat because when you're done, you've got this really awesome functioning farm that's producing, and you don't have to do all of the above, but you usually have some cattle or some animal or multiple animals, plus the crops, plus you're doing this and that to build everything. Everything is interconnected with something else to how it produces, and you also have, of course, those tiles that don't work well right next to each other, and it's just I love the puzzly feel to this game. Fields of Green.
Alrighty then.
There you go.
I have nothing to say.
Wow, that's unusual.
It didn't make my list. I can say that. My number 9. We go from Gentes to the massive, epic, maybe one of the most epic Euro games ever made. Maybe not.
Ooh.
And that is The Colonists.
That is
The Colonists.
an epic game.
This game is so epic, we've never played a full game of it. So, The Colonists is, I guess it's a...
Colonists is a Civ game.
It's a Civ game. You're basically gathering, you're basically building out a map, and you're basically traveling around the map with your little workers to do different things, and basically effectively worker placement. You're building out a tableau. It's got ages. It's got 3 ages. You can play one age, which is like a super quick introductory game. You got the second age, which is like a long Euro game. And then you got the age after that, which makes it a super long Euro game. And then you got an age after that, makes it like an all-day affair. So
someday we shall play.
And it really has the build-up feel of a civilization game, because like in the first era, you're basically working towards the Iron Age, and then the next one may be Iron, and you're working towards the next kind of resource. And you can build different buildings that based on those ages. Different new buildings come out that you can do. It's got a cool... You're building out the map thing going on, which is interesting. It's kind of almost a tile placement build of the map. It's just a really solid game. You can play a short game.
You just play one age.
Play one age and call it good, or you can do more age. I think we've only played 2. I don't think we've played a 3-age game yet.
I'm trying to remember if we played the 3rd
I don't
age.
think we have.
We wanted to. I know that much.
But 2 ages is
So
just
awesome.
about the right length for the games that we like. 1 seems like you're not quite getting enough meat.
Yeah.
2 is just right. I would love to play a full-blown game of this someday. And when I do,
It'll happen.
there will be much rejoicing. But that is my number 9, the epic Euro game, The Colonists.
Nice. That's a good one. All right, my number 9 is also, again, another city building game. And that has a difficulty of 3.18 out of 5, which is Gugong. Yes, believe it or not, it is significantly heavier than Fields of Green. I thought that was kind of interesting.
No, I'm trying to think of this as a Civ building. I guess it is kind
It
of.
is, and I even looked up the description on Board Game Geek and was reading like the details of it, and I was like, yeah, actually, what you're doing, yeah, you're building stuff up. And I really like, this is one of those games that wowed me with the smooth gameplay with it. It's not so much, I don't know how to describe this one. Because of the mechanisms involved are a little bit different than a lot of other games that we've played.
It's worker placement with cards.
Yeah, but the cards, it's what's interesting about the cards is they all have different values, and based off the values, if it's higher than what you're replacing, you're going to get an extra bonus out of it. Or you can just, to get that high card, you just have to replace it with a card, but you don't get the bonus if it's not higher than that. So you want to really try to plan most of the time to have a higher card so that you get those bonuses. Otherwise, to me, like, it feels almost like a waste of a turn because you're not getting... Because sometimes the actions are kind of, they're good. They're not amazing, though, but if you get the bonus, then you're like, okay, that was a really productive turn. I got a lot done with that. So you're just really trying to be as efficient as possible and maximize what you can do. And then they call it the favor of the emperor, right? Favor to the emperor or something like that. If you give him...
Yeah, you got to move up a little chart.
You got to move up a little chart. So
if you don't get to the end, you don't get to win.
Yeah, and so you're trying to work your way up because you're building up your resources in your kingdom to be, the most favored by the emperor, and it's pretty interesting. I really like the mechanisms involved with this game, and kind of comes at it from a different angle than you'll see with a lot of the other stuff. But check out the smooth gameplay of Gugong.
Alrighty. So my number 8 is a fairly new game for us. Again, this one's on the list. None of these are hitting my list yet. These are all fairly new games. And that is Underwater Cities. Underwater Cities. So this is a city building and / civ build. This kind of fits in both categories.
Yeah. It really
so
does.
it's a worker placement game, but the main goal is you're building out your underwater city. You're building tunnels and little buildings and resource producing places, and it's worker placement. And you're collecting cards, and those cards you're kind of drafting those cards into your tableau to get benefits. Some are instant, some are going through the game, and some are in-game scoring. And you're building out your little city, and you have rules on how you do that, and you're eventually trying to reach land, and you're going to start helping the mainland with your resources. So it's really cool, solid. It plays pretty quickly. It's got a lot of cool things I like: the worker placement, the tableau building, card drafting, also resource management, all sorts of things. So it's a solid. It fits this category perfect. City / sim building game.
Yeah, it's one of those that really does fit both on the the list. Which is funny because when I first did my search, I accidentally clicked both things at the same time. I'm like, this is really small.
Yeah, there's a handful of games.
Cities.
Met both of them.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
I did the same thing. I thought, I want all the city building games, all the civ building games. I clicked them both, and I hit enter, and it's like, there's only 5 games.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't very many, though.
And that's interesting. That's funny. You did the same thing I did. That's funny. But that's my number 8, Underwater Cities.
All right, my number 8, Hunter, is actually already mentioned.
Gentes?
Yes, Gentes. It's Latin for people.
Oh, Gentes?
Yes. Look at you. It's ranked...
I can learn. I can be taught.
He can be taught. It's a civilization game. It is ranked as a 3.24 difficulty. So again, solidly past that halfway mark on the BGG difficulty rating. It's a pretty hefty little game. And everything that Hunter said about it is so true. It's fun to see the tug of war between the people because you need to get your resources balanced out a certain way. And you may want to change that partway through the game to get different achievements. Of course, it's very fluid. And the way you're building out your map, and you're building up your resources, this and that, I like how everything mixes together. It's another one of those games. I see kind of a theme, actually, as I'm looking through. Not only were all of these, they had a great Civ feel, but they're all incredibly smooth games. And this is another one that hits all of the little boxes that you check off for a good, smooth playing game, and that's Gentes. I don't want to add too much more because you talked about it quite a bit, but...
All right.
It's a really good game.
Then we'll just go right on to my number 7.
I love it.
My number 7. It's the first one that was on the list last time. Mm-hmm. It was my number 2 last time. It dropped to number 7. And that is Age of Empires 3, The Age of Discovery.
Such a good game.
A.K.A. Empire's Age of Discovery, I think is what it's called now.
Cool.
It is a worker placement game that includes area control on a map. It has set collection, but what the coolest thing I like about it, and I like this in games because not a lot of games have this, you take your crappy generic worker and you put it on certain spots, and that crappy generic worker becomes a cool specialized worker. And then you can take that cool specialized worker on a later turn and play it on a spot, and it becomes more powerful.
Yeah.
And so you got to decide, how many generic workers do I want? How many of the specialized workers do I want? Who do I want to send over to the mainland to fight for the area control? It's just a really solid game. It's got buildings you can build that give you superpowers. It's just a really solid. There's not a lot of games that I can think of that have area control and effectively combat. It's very deterministic. It's not like rolling dice or anything.
Yeah.
Combat and worker placement and specialized worker and set collection. It's just got all this Yuri goodness, and still there's some attacking in it.
And in our version, the boats look like they're made out of chocolate.
Chocolate boats.
They do, but that's what we call them, the chocolate boats, because they do look like that. It's really weird.
I just really like it. It's solid. I want to play it again.
Yes.
If you're following our resolution thing that we're doing this year,
we haven't
played it yet, and I am kind of saving this for like one of the last ones
as a treat.
As a treat at the end. There's a handful of really great games
You're saving
that I'm
as a
saving
treat.
at the end to kind of give us that last push to get
That's a good idea.
Get some done.
I like it.
I don't think we're going to finish, but I do want to save some nice ones, because if you play all your favorites and then you got to wait a whole year to play them again,
That's
too
garbage.
long. So that is my number 7,
Nice.
Age of Empires, Age of Discovery,
Fantastic.
Empires, Age of Discovery, or whatever it's called now.
That. Yes, my number 7, oddly enough, Hunter mentioned already as well. It is a Civ/city builder. It's the one we discussed earlier, and that's Underwater Cities. Its difficulty rating is a 3.53. It's not for the faint of heart, but for those that are strong of heart, you will be rewarded with a lot of fun. I love the fact that it's almost got a power grid mentality to it. As you're building up all your little cities, you want to connect them and make sure they're all powered together, and that you get it to the mainland so that you can help the mainland out with your resources, and you get some cool benefits
and game scoring
and end-game scoring and stuff based off of linking up. So that's a huge part of the game. Meanwhile, you're trying to juggle all those resources and get everything going, and Hunter already kind of explained it all to you, but just it's got a great Civ feel to it. Really, really enjoy Underwater Cities.
All right.
So we're keep it short and sweet.
So we're on to my number 6.
Okay.
This may be the first true city building game that I have on my list.
Okay.
And that is Le Havre. Le Havre.
Of course.
My number 6. It was my number 3 last time. My number 6, Le Havre. So this is a city building game. It's more of a resource management game, but you do that by building buildings.
Building your city.
And as you build more and more buildings, it becomes your engine for building those resources become more and more efficient. Yep. It has some cool mechanisms where people can jump over and use your buildings. You have to pay a little bit of a little sweetener to let you use the building, like a little fee. But that could be very strategic. You could grab something that they planned on using and use it for yourself. We've actually only played this 2-player. We've never played it with more.
That's true.
And
love it.
So we haven't even touched the specialized buildings. So we love the game, just bare bones base game, no special buildings. So it's even better. I bet it's even better with more. But I love it with 2 because the turns are so fast. The game just sails along quickly with 2 players. Yep. It's one of those worker placement games where everything is good. There's not a bad choice. You get like tons of fish, or you get tons of hides, or you get tons of this other thing. There's never a turn where you go, I don't get hardly anything. It's like almost every turn is a great turn. It's got that feed your people mechanism going on that Uwe loves, but Uwe loves, but you can mitigate that by boats, the Le Havre part, the harbor, by boats to feed your people. And they're kind of like solid every turn food, or you can just feed them fish. So it's a great game. If you like Uwe and you haven't tried out Le Havre, you should give it a shot.
Absolutely. In fact, I agree with you so much that this happened to turn out to be my number 6 as well.
That's funny.
Yeah. Le Havre is a 3.75 on the difficulty scale for BGG. Again, not...
You're already up to almost to the 4s. That's so funny.
I've got some heavy games.
We're only halfway through the list.
Yeah. But Le Havre has, again, this is, when I think city and civ builders, my favorite games like that, though, have that complexity, because building a city and a civilization should not be easy.
Yeah.
It should be a ginormous puzzle, and the best games, I feel like, have that weight to it. And Le Havre hits that just right on the head. Like you said, you're building all these specialized buildings. You're balancing out, do I want to use your buildings, and pay the fees? Is it worth it to do this turn and maximize this and make sure I fed my people? Do I want to build a better boat? All these things are coming into play as you're managing your resources. And also you want to, of course, get some profit out of it, get some victory points, right?
Right.
So it's awesome game. And it does move. The economy of moves in that game, though, like you said, it goes so quickly. By the time you flip through a round, I guess I'm trying to think of the way to phrase it. It was so fast because it's tight. The turns are really tight. You have probably 20 things you want to do, but you're going to get like 5 chances. It's crazy, all the choices.
But all those 5 things are amazing.
Are really good choices.
Right.
Yeah, it's a game of good choices, and I really like games that provide that. So there you go. Lots of love for Le Havre.
Le Havre. All right, so my number 5. My number 5 is, we're back to civ building. In fact, this is beyond civ building. This is intergalactic building.
Yes.
And Gaia Project. So my number 5 is Gaia Project. This is the sequel. Is that the right word? It's a Terra Mystica game.
Terra Mystica Plus.
So it's Terra Mystica in space, so you're basically doing a lot of the similar things you're doing to Terra Mystica, but you're out conquering planets, and you are building up your tech. Every tech, there's like, I think there's 4, maybe 5 different tech trees, not trees, but tracks that you can go up on. And you want to do them all because they're all amazing. It's
really
it's like I want to do that and I want to do that and this is awesome.
Most you usually only build up like 2, right?
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's just really a really solid game. It's very tight. It's very you want to do 1,000 things and you can only do 3 of them. Just kind of like you described Le Havre. A lot of the best Civ games have that. It's like, oh, I want to build up this tech, and I want to do this, and I want to conquer these planets, and I want to go over and do this. And, oh, yeah, we have an objective we have to get this round. It's just, you have to balance what you do and don't do and try to maximize your victory points through doing that. And it's just a really enjoyable game. I tried out Terra Mystica. I've never played a full game of it, but it seemed kind of bland. And this has a nice little theme spread over the top of it that I think improves the game, and the tech trees help. I think before it was like cultist tracks or cult tracks or something like that.
Oh,
and they don't give you, they didn't give you the same thing. And in Gaia Project, it's full blown tech. As you go up this track, you're getting superpowers and benefits and things that other people don't have. So I just really love it. It's a really solid game. I don't know what more to say. It's awesome. Gaia Project.
Tis good.
This is a pretty heavy game, so we'll probably hear about this later.
All right, my number 5. I'm going to continue with the Uwe love, and that is Ora et Labora. That is a 3.9. So, again, heavy hitter. It is a city builder, and it does all the things that Uwe does well. If you know about Uwe Rosenberg games, this is this his heaviest? Maybe it's close. If it's not,
Feast for Odin may be a hair heavier.
Yeah,
maybe.
So if it's not the heaviest, it's right up there. So if you enjoy Uwe Rosenberg's stuff, I really recommend you do this one because it's a little bit longer than his usual games and it's heavier than most of his games. But it has everything that he does well in this game as you're building up your city and your monks. I think, if I remember right.
They're monks or
I think they're monks.
Yeah, something like that.
And so you're building up your resources and the buildings and stuff and helping build up your city around your monastery.
It's like a village or something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a village with a monastery.
Right. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe it's just the monastery as a whole, just making it a functioning, working thing. I'm trying to blank. It's been a while since I played it.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But what I just again, it's another one of those that the smooth gameplay and just the way that you go about handling the resources and collecting those and doing this and that with what you get, and the balance of it is a fantastic game. Again, it's a 3.9. It's not easy to just pick it up, but you will be rewarded if you play this one for sure.
So this one's got one of my favorite mechanisms for resources, almost an economy with the resources. I got games that have an economy for the resources. So this game, basically, as time goes by, if no one takes a particular kind of resource, there's more and more and more and more of that resource. So it may, like, on this turn, I can get like 3 sticks, but if I wait until later, I might get 5 sticks, or 7 sticks, or maybe 9 sticks. But the person right before me could take that away and reset it. So it's a pressure luck. Do I wait for another lap around the table before I get it, or should I grab it now before someone else does? So it's got kind of a pressure lucky thing. This is kind of a more advanced version of Raccoon Tycoon in that way.
That's true.
I've talked about that several times. The same economy. You're pushing your luck. This in that game, you're waiting to sell, and this one's you're waiting to take the resources. So it's really cool. I like this game. It didn't quite make my list, but it is on my short list.
Yeah.
I think we need to play it more. We've only played it once or twice, and it's been a while since we played it. So
yeah, and it is good. And you're right about the resources. There's only a couple of games that I can think of that we own that have a mechanism similar to that.
Well, a lot of his games has, if no one takes it, you add one.
You can add one.
It's a similar type of thing.
But the way this one kind of, it's like
this one's more punitive in the fact that it drops way down.
Punitive.
And where
punitive. Anyway.
Punitive. And a lot of the games, if you like in Caverna or Agricola, you take the resources, it resets, but it doesn't always reset to 0. It resets to a starting amount. Whereas this one, it kind of resets to 0.
Yeah, it's tough, that balance.
Or 1.
But the nice thing is, the payoff for that is so nice, because then you're actually able to do something because you have all these resources again. I really, really enjoyed that, and it really does drive the momentum of the game for you. So you got to plan it out correctly, for sure.
All right. So my number 4, we're back to. We took a break. Oh no, we didn't. That was 2 turns ago. Two
break over.
Of city building, but now we're back. We're doing another civ building game, because I said almost all mine are civ building.
Gotcha.
Because I'm a big fan of civ building. I'm a lesser fan of city building.
Interesting.
So my number 4 is Through the Ages, a new story of civilization. This was my number 1 last time. It's dropped down to my number 4 because it's been punitated. Because since we last made this list, I've probably played this game 100 times. But that box that's up there hasn't been cracked open. Probably since the last time we made this list. Because I play it on the app, and I can play a game of Through the Ages in 10 to 15 minutes. Whereas a full-blown 2-player game of Through the Ages with all the bells and whistles takes about 3 hours.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, I didn't put this on my list anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because the app killed it for us. Because now you've played it so much on the app, I don't know that I would have a chance against you in the board game.
There's always a chance. But anyway,
I don't know about that. But yeah, it's
Through the Ages is an awesome civ building game. It's a civ building game with no board that you're building stuff on, which sounds insane, but it's more of the resource management logistics side of things. So basically, you're drafting cards, you're building up your empire, your civilization, you're getting different types of ways to make stone and food, and you're getting leaders, and you're getting religious buildings and civic buildings, and building up warriors and going and fighting wars, but your wars are kind of just comparing your totals and see who wins. It's very deterministic on the wars. There's aggressions where you can go and destroy people's buildings and stuff like that. You go out and collect colonies, which makes your civilization more powerful. It's got everything you would imagine in a civilization game without the map.
Yeah. And I think that's what first blew me away about that game.
Yeah.
Because you would think to do what you're doing with that game, you would have to have a map.
Right.
No. Nothing. It's amazing. And it is a really solid game. I actually was a bit sad to not put it on my list, but I just know that it's not going to get played.
We're going to play it for the resolution, so we'll see if it re-sparks that magic.
That was so sappy. I love it. Okay, so
That's my number 4. My number 1 last time, Through the Ages.
that's
A New Story of Civilization.
it's a good game. It's a good game. All right, my number 4 has actually been mentioned by Hunter.
Well, who else would have mentioned it?
Drake the Duck.
He's all the way in.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes he shouts stuff from the other room. And this is The Colonists.
Wow! Oh, you're doing it by weight.
By weight.
You're confusing me with that
I
ordering.
know. Sorry, I had to do something because I was like, I don't know how to.
Colonist
rank
is number 4? What is above it? That's insane.
yeah, because The Colonists is a 4.07.
It's higher than that, I think.
I feel like it's pretty tough.
This is my
too.
relative rating theory I'm going to come out with.
Yeah,
eventually.
I think.
Your heavy Euro gamers are the
Are the
ones
ones
playing
ranking
this
it?
game, and they're considering it lighter than. It's just interesting.
Well, but I think part of it, and maybe this is why you think it may be falsely lighter ranked than it should be. More lightly ranked, I guess.
Maybe they're not playing the full game.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's because the rules. Okay, the overhead's really high. Again, learning the rules, but the turn play for this is amazingly simple.
That's pretty simple. Yeah, you're right.
Once you get that down, I mean, there's so few games like that where it's just like you can do this or this or this. It's like really, it sounds like limited choices. Now, the consequences and what happens, the repercussions of your choices, infinite possibilities. This is why this game is so heavy. But initially, what you're doing is so simple. I think that's why they're ranking it lighter, because they're like, well, all you do is this or this or this in your turn. That's all you do, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I really think that's what's going on with this one. And it's such a good, solid game. I'm actually really looking forward to playing a big epic, like you said, all
full-blown
4
one.
ages or whatever it is. I'm really excited about that because just thinking about this game, I was like, there was so much going on in it. Just, good stuff. Good stuff.
All right.
What's your number 3?
Number 3. My number 3 is Star Trek Ascendancy.
Ooh, yeah.
So we're back to the galactic level civilization building game. So this one's, you're playing one of the many races of the Federation. You're Klingons or the Cardassians or the Romulans or
The
Federation or the Ferengi or the soon-to-be Vulcan or the Andorians. So basically you're going out and you started out, you got a little tiny little civ with nothing going on, your little home planet with a couple of ships. By the end of the game, you've explored the galaxy, you got these massive fleets, all this technology, you're destroying planets, you're subjugating people. It's insane.
Or you could be meeting people and bringing them into your federation and learning new scientific discoveries and
subjugate. So yeah, I like this game. It's kind of a pullback, a kind of a macro view of the Star Trek world where you're colonizing planets and building up your tech and building fleets and stuff like that. It's not. It's kind of maybe I don't know. I want to say it's rebellion, Star Wars equivalent, but it's not. It's not episodic. You're not dealing with. There's no characters. There's no. There's captains and there's no people that you're playing. It's all at the fleet level. I just really love this game. I love how it progresses. I love how it blows up. You literally start out with one little disc tile in front of you. That's your home world, and everyone has one of those setting in front of them, and that's all you have. And by the end of the game, there's dozens of planets all over the place, all these warp tunnels, and all kinds of craziness going on. It's got a nice build-up arc to it. It's kind of a race to a certain number of, I forgot what they call it, cultural points or something like that. It's only like 5. And it's like, you don't have to get 5 points. That's easy.
Oh,
no,
it
takes a long time to get those 5 points.
It is. It's pretty heavy.
I just love it. It's a great game. It's one of my favorite Star Trek games. My favorite Star Trek Civ game.
Is it the only one that would be considered? I think it's the only one that could be considered.
That we have,
a
anyway.
Civ game, yeah.
All right, well, there it is. That is my number 3, the greatness of Star Trek Ascendancy.
'Tis a glorious, glorious game. All right, my number 3 is a Civ game. It is ranked 4.19 on the difficulty, and that is Twilight Imperium 4. So, continuing with your space epicness, we shall talk about some real civilization here. We're talking about building up our fleets for exploration, building up our military for subjugation, passing laws, doing economic things and stuff, building stuff, negotiating, trade, talks, betrayal, attacks, wars. It's got it all. It's a beautiful, glorious, day-long event. But the nice thing about Twilight Imperium 4 is they did streamline a lot of that stuff, especially as far as like the laws and voting and things that kind of made it not exactly clunky
Slows the
before,
game
but
down.
it slowed down the game significantly, and they streamlined that and made a much more smooth game. The turns flow really smoothly, and it's another one, not to the degree of the colonists, I don't think, but your turns are, it's all listed. First we do this, then there's reactions to it, then we do this, then there's reactions to it, then you do this, there's reactions to it. Everything has a specific time when it goes through. So once you learn the insane amount of all the possibilities of things that can happen, it's surprisingly intuitive on how things should flow. It's like, okay, well, because this happens, then this should happen. Well, you find yourself, okay, that makes sense. And after a while, you find that you don't really need to keep referring back to the rulebook about that, because what they did makes so much sense that it kind of just naturally flows into the next topic or what you need to do with it, the next step. And I really, really, really enjoy that. There's several different paths to victory with this as well. It's not just about going and blowing up people. So
There's a lot of that, though.
Oh, there is. Don't get me wrong. But the neat thing is, too, is each race is quite unique with what you start out with, what you have, what your goals are. Some of them, they have a backstory to them that makes it neat, too. So you have this little, what actually would motivate me to do this and such thing? Well, this group's not very warlike. This group's all about conquest and conquering, so they're going to have extra bonuses in that direction. It's really neat. I really enjoy that. The variety in that game is astounding. And again, it's a monster-heavy game. 4.19. That's TI4. Scary thing is, that's only number 3 on my list. 3.
It's alright. Alright, my number 2 is a game we just played recently. I only played it once. I played it recently, and it had such a great impression on me that I named it my number 2 game. And that is Antiquity.
Nice.
Antiquity.
That is definitely civilization.
The punitation, the death, the annihilation, the destruction on your own civilization, not other people's, of Antiquity. So Antiquity is like you said, it's a civ game. You start out with a simple little city with nothing going on, and you have a few workers, and you're building buildings, and you're spreading out over the land. You're building farms, and you're mining, and you're doing trees. All this is causing pollution, death, and destruction that you're barely keeping ahead of. The best person to keep ahead of that has the best chance of winning. You have to span out, because if you stay too isolated, you're going to eventually fill up with pollution and basically
choke on your own filth.
Well, basically, you have no resources that you can harvest, and you have nowhere to put more pollution. So you eventually, people start dying. Your civilization collapses, and you cry. But the game is awesome. The game is fun. When we played, like I said, we've only played it one time. When we were done, I was like, I want to play this game again now. I don't care if it's 1 a.m. We're gonna play it right now. We didn't play it right now, but I really wanted. I almost wanted to stay up and set up a 2-player game and play by myself. That's how much I wanted to play that game, because it was like, it's one of those games that's really tough. It's really punishing.
It is,
but it's so rewarding. I mean, just you feel like every little thing you accomplish just feels like, yay!
Yeah.
I built another building and no one died this turn. It's a really cool game. I want to play it again. I have like 17 different strategies I want to try.
right?
and I can't do that unless I play it 17 more times. It's just a really solid game. If you don't like games that punish you, this is not the game for you. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I would like it, but I watched a playthrough of it, and it just seems so intriguing. The there's so many different ways to play. There's so many different ways to win. It just seems so great that when we played it, the one time we played it, by the second or third full round, we were like, we are doomed. So we basically turned it into a semi-co-op game, and we survived long enough for one of us to win. I won't say who won, but we all worked together. If we would have been like
Mean and
competitive players,
cutthroat.
we probably would have all died. Probably in some order, we would have all died, but we would have all died. It's just a really awesome game. It's my third Splotter to play.
My second.
Every Splotter I've played, I love, and this is another one. And you can just look at the game and go, this is a genius design. And I
Yeah.
can say that about all 3 games I've played of Splotter. You're paying for a solid design, and this is another one that's just an amazing game.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, that's my
I
number
can't argue that
2.
at all.
Antiquity.
Woohoo! My number 2, we're going to switch gears back to space a little bit. The weight of this puppy is 4.28 on the difficulty scale, and that is the beautiful game that Hunter talked about called Gaia Project. This monster of a game is amazing. It's like everything I kind of want in a Civ buildy game, right? And it's that the worker placement, and you're working on these different tech tracks, and it's got a really cool map. I really like those maps with the beautiful planets and different types, and some, depending on your race, certain planets, you live on, and it's easier for you to terraform than others for obvious reasons, because, your technology versus somebody else's, and there's a lot of different things going on with that, but there's so many different ways to get to the same end goal. Kind of almost what you said about Antiquity. That, I felt like after the first play of Gaia Project, there were like 17 different techniques I wanted to try because of that. And each time I want to play this game, I've tried a different approach just to see how it goes, and they've all been really solid.
Yeah.
The balance on this game is insane. I don't know how people playtest some of these super heavy games. I really don't, but they do an amazing job. And I really, really, really recommend Gaia Project because it's just heavy duty, spacey exploration, build up goodness.
I can't argue. It's good. So my number 1 will come as no surprise to anyone who follows this channel. My number 1 Civilization game is the epicness of Twilight Imperium.
I knew you'd be saying
4th
more.
edition. It was my number 4 last time. It was TI3 then, and I only played half a game.
Oh, that's right.
When
By the
I
time
last ranked this.
Wow.
I think I only played half a game. I'm pretty sure I only played half a game.
That's a long time
So,
ago.
Twilight Imperium 4 is everything she said. It's a crazy, epic space game. They took TI3, kind of boiled it down into its best pieces, streamlined it. She mentioned that the laws and stuff you don't tell maybe midway through the game. Those aren't even introduced. Early on in TI3, you're doing laws and stuff. You may not even know what's going on or who's doing what or anything.
Right.
They wait until the game's more established for the most part. I mean, you could still rush to the middle of the board to trigger
Could.
that part of it.
But
the game will be a little more established when the laws start happening. It's just a really solid game. It comes with a bazillion different races, with a bazillion different powers, and a bazillion different ways to play. I just love this game. This is the type of game I would get a game group and play this every weekend.
oh my gosh, if we only had that kind of time, that'd be amazing.
I think of my younger self, and I used to play Conquest of the Empire and Risk every weekend. This could be played every weekend instead.
Oh yeah.
This game is, every time we play it, it is an event. It is like a memorable, epic event.
We have a lot of fun stories from these every time.
And you can't say more about a game that when you play it, it is like a event. It's like a gathering of friends all day. You make a day of it. You're ordering food. You're talking smack. You're making deals. You're backstabbing people. It is an epic game of epicness at its core. You start out with your one little world, and you start out with 3 or 4 worlds, but you start out with almost nothing, and by the end of the game, you got this sprawling, epic fleets attacking each other, and it's just got a great progression. it's like she said, there's many ways to win. I mean, you got to probably fight a little bit, but you can usually get victory points through tech and exploring and conquering worlds and building up collecting different types of planets and going to certain places. There's all kinds of random scoring opportunities that you could get each turn. Every game's a little bit different based on the combination of races and combination of how you get victory points. It's just an amazing game.
It is. I really can't top what you said because that's exactly what I feel about that game. Every time we play it, it's an amazing event. And you can't say that about a lot of games.
Right.
That every single time you play it, there's a story that comes out of it or something. You're like, hey, remember that time? It's always going to be about like TI4. It's amazing.
Remember that time when your wife epically betrayed you in such a way that your heart shattered in a million pieces?
Just because it was the first time I'd actually betrayed you in a game.
No, that was crazy betrayal.
It was pretty awesome.
Anyway, so what's your number one in this crazy heavy game? Only thing I can think of that's heavier, let me try to make a guess at it. You said Through the Ages wasn't on your list. Mm-hmm. So it has to be Antiquity, right?
It is Antiquity.
Yeah.
This was one of the first games I thought of when we talked about the Civ games, because to me, this is a civilization game. Scary thought. It is a 4.31
I think it's our new heaviest game.
out of 5. I did not check.
Arkwright was our heaviest.
I don't
know if this is heavier or not, but it's got to be close.
I kind of feel like it is. So, I remember back in the day, a long time ago, and I'm playing like Civ 2 or whatever on the computer, and I just remember, it's like, okay, to make a successful city, you always build 2 settlers and a granary right away so you can do all your stuff you need to do.
Right.
If you don't do that, you're going to have problems building up your city, right? You're going to start, so it's a poor start to the game. You have that formula every time. You got to have your 2 settlers and a granary, and you go.
Right.
This is that game.
Right.
In board game form.
Right.
You have to do certain things, and I'm not quite sure I've figured those out yet. Right away, or you are dooming yourself to struggling the entire game with things that could, I have a feeling, be slightly prevented or at least diminished quite a bit.
Things like snowball out of control quickly.
Yes, things snowball quickly. So if you don't want this accelerating out of control chaos feeling, you've got to really think. I think the first 2 turns of the game should be spent APing more than your last.
Right.
If you do it right, because you have to think about all the repercussions and the long-standing effects of your stuff. Because like you said, the pollution and then the death thing is crazy. And if you don't have anything to mitigate those, you're in trouble fast.
Or a way just to stop them from happening.
A way to stop them or
get rid of
at least
them.
minimize them, right? Because I don't know that you could completely, it's really hard to completely stop. I had a pretty good engine for a while to almost completely stop pollution.
Right.
I had that, but I wasn't progressing very far. I was like maintaining status quo. I wasn't advancing. Meanwhile, you guys were sprawling all over the place, but your pollution was insane.
Right.
It is an interesting game. The other thing that's scary about the death thing as it piles up, but it's really thematic if you think about it. If you have too many people dying in your cities, you don't have anywhere for these people to go.
Right.
So
you start throwing them in.
You start throwing them in buildings that you don't need to use anymore. It's kind of macabre, but it's really thematic in a way, because you think about like Black Plague and stuff. Right. What did they do? They had mass graves and all this craziness. Right. So now we're like, Hunter's like building an extra city just so he can have like mass grave sites to cover all that. I mean, you're at that point when you're like, I don't know what to do. But meanwhile, you've got all these great buildings that all do different things that help build it up so that you can go out and explore more and get more resources or clean up the land so you can re-farm again. And, there's a lot of really good choices in this game and a billion more bad choices that you can make too. Yep. So it's a huge, huge, heavy, heavy, heavy hitter, but it screams Civ.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny you mentioned the whole AP in the first turn. Is like the saying about splatter games is, if you can't lose the game on the first turn, why play the first turn?
Ooh. Well, that all makes sense now, having played that game.
Why play the first turn if you can't lose the game on the first turn?
That's the mentality this game has, though. Which I don't normally... That's not every day I'm gonna say, hey, let's play a game like that. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. This will melt your brain because now you're just like, how do people lead their communities? Not melt us all to the ground. It's just like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's a pretty interesting game.
Your
I really
list
like it.
completely blows my mind and shocks me because I'm on a list. I'm going to quickly go through our
I bet.
our previous list,
That
which
is
you can
totally-
watch at your leisure.
You
but,
should.
But I'll go through it quickly. So here's my 10 from last time. Number 10, Deus. Number 9, Bruges. Number 8, Core Worlds. Number 7, My Village. Number 6, Above and Below. Number 5, Eclipse. Number 4, TI3. Number 3, Le Havre. Number 2, Age of Empires. Number 1, Through the Ages. Here's your number. Here's your 10, which blows my mind that a lot of these aren't on your list. So number 10 is Above and Below. Number 9, Imperial Settlers. Number 8, Bruges. Number 7, Le Havre. Number 6, Age of Empires. Number 5, Among the Stars. Number 4, Deus. Number 3, Roll/Race for the Galaxy, which blows my mind this isn't on your list. Number 2, Core Worlds, which again blows my mind it's not on your list. And number 1, Through the Ages.
Okay, here's the thing. Because I was thinking about this. Another thing, because this was an insanely difficult decision because there's so many. Again, those are all really good games.
Right.
But I went with the ones that I felt had most of a Civ feel to me. And Core Worlds, if you think about it, it's almost exclusively military. You're getting ground
But
troops.
you're collecting planets to give you superpowers.
Yeah, but okay. But am I passing laws? Am I? No, it's a conquest game.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it's Civ. And that's kind of what I came into with a lot of them. Imperial Settlers, I almost felt like that was a resource management kind of game. I didn't feel like
You're
I was
building buildings and using those buildings to.
You are, and it's on my short list. I'm not gonna lie, but again, it felt to me like a different kind of game. The games that I picked felt more like Civ games to me than the others.
Fair enough.
That's why, because I do love those games very much.
All right, let me give you some of my honorable mentions, and
go.
then she'll give you some of yours, and then we're going to get on out of here. So my honorable mentions are Auret Labora, which she mentioned, Charterstone, which you start off with like one building, you end up with a bazillion buildings.
Yep, that's true.
Bruges, which was on my list last time. My Village, which was on my list last time. Forum Trajanum, but that's barely missed my list.
Yep.
And Core Worlds, which made my list last time.
Yes, and barely missing my list, yes, Ascendancy, Imperial Settlers, Age of Empires, Forum Trajanum, Architects of the West Kingdom, and Bruges and Seven Wonders Duel. So, basically, the other games, like you said, the ones we didn't mention of each other's and stuff for different reasons. I mention all these other games, too, because they're really good games. Some of them, though, don't feel as much of a Civ builder game to me, and that's why I eliminated them or stuff. It was a tough decision to do these.
Well, there you go. There is our top 10 city/civilization building games, a redo of a previous list. So next time we will likely be back to our live shows, but who knows? But there'll be
Happy
something.
summer.
There'll probably be something for you next Tuesday. So tune in. Same.
Bat time, same bat channel.
I was gonna say board game, but that works too.
Lame.
We'll see you next time. Bye.